everyone, this is the lesson read aloud recording for the 2.12 lesson preparing for the unit test. And as you might guess, yes, there is a test coming up in unit 2, so time to review. Now, I'm just going to let you know you don't really have to go to the lesson resources for the 2.12 because it just has a student guide and you really don't need the student guide that much. It's more important to focus on the other things here in the lesson. Okay, so your goals are just basically to study and review. So let's keep going on. Daily checklist. You're going to complete the online unit review activities, review the chapter highlights, complete the offline unit review activities, and complete the checkpoint. Okay, look back, preparing for the unit test. So here are all the different online activities that you had for this unit. Now, you're going to get a keyword at the end of one of these, or maybe even at more than one of these. And when you go to take the checkpoint, make sure that you read carefully what it says, because it might say use the keyword that you got from the Constitution flashcards activity, or use the keyword you got from the Documents of Liberty activity, because sometimes students will just take the first word they get and put that in the checkpoint and then they get it wrong. Whereas you have to go through all of these, all the activities again, and then go to the checkpoint at the end of the lesson and see which checkpoint word they're looking for. So just want to give you a word of warning because that's a mistake that trips students up. Okay, let's go through the chapter highlights. So some of the highlights from Chapter 5. Most colonists in North America were proud to be British after the British victory in the French and Indian War in 1763. Parliament issued the Proclamation of 1763, which denied the colonists the right to settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. Britain was deeply in debt and wanted the colonists to share some of the expenses of the French and Indian War and the administration of the colonies. Parliament passed a series of acts designed to raise revenue and control the colonists. They included the Sugar Act, the Quartering Act, the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, and the Intolerable Acts. Tension grew. The colonists protested, organized boycotts, and led tea parties to convince Parliament to repeal the acts. Violence broke out and 5 colonists were killed in the Boston Massacre. The colonies, which had ignored each other at first, realized they had many mutual interests and shared many of the same grievances. They gradually united to take action. The colonists organized militias and collected weapons. Delegates from all the colonies except Georgia met at the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia in 1774. They organized a boycott and called on Parliament to repeal the Intolerable Acts. Fighting between the British and the colonists broke out in Lexington and Concord when the British tried to confiscate weapons the colonial militia had amassed. Thomas Paine's pamphlet, Common Sense, convinced many of the colonists that it was time to separate from Great Britain. "'Tis time to part." Remember, that's the famous quote, "'Tis time to part." It galvanized the delegates to the Continental Congress into action. The Second Continental Congress formed the Continental Army, issued the Second Declaration of Independence, just the Declaration of Independence, and vowed to form a new republic. Chapter 6 highlights. When the Continental Congress issued the Declaration of Independence, many colonists still remained loyal to Britain. Britain had the most powerful, well-trained military in the world. The colonists had a ragtag group of inexperienced volunteer soldiers. The Patriots were dedicated to their cause and knew the terrain well. The British offered enslaved African Americans their freedom if they would fight on the British side. Many Native Americans sided with the British because they feared the colonists would take their land. George Washington demonstrated remarkable leadership in a long and difficult war. As the commander of the Continental Army, he overcame great difficulties, including acute shortages of food and equipment. The Patriots made very effective use of guerrilla war tactics while von Steuben and others trained the army to fight against regular forces. They gradually gained the upper hand by staging quick surprise attacks. With help from the with help from the French, the colonists defeated the British at the Battle of Yorktown after 8 long years of fighting. The Americans negotiated very favorable terms in the Treaty of Paris. The British formally recognized the United States and gave the new country all the land east of the Mississippi River. The Articles of Confederation established the first U.S. government. Americans distrusted centralized power, so they established a weak government with no power to raise taxes, negotiate trade agreements, or settle disputes among the states. The government under the Articles of Confederation oversaw the Revolutionary War, negotiated a good treaty, and established a process for allowing Western territories to become states. As the economic situation worsened, Americans realized they needed a central government that could negotiate trade agreements and put down uprisings such as Shays' Rebellion. The experience gained in writing state constitutions proved useful in guiding the writing of the national constitution. The idea in James Madison's Virginia Plan became the basis for the new federal government. The delegates to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787 reached compromises on the issues of representation and slavery. Government power was divided among three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Each check and balances the other. The Federalists and Anti-Federalists debated ratification of the Constitution. Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay argued convincingly in favor of ratification in their essays, which became known as the Federalist Papers. Okay, let's see. Was that, I don't know if I skipped over something, if I was clicking too much. Nope. We read, okay, got through all that. That was indeed the last page. So here you go. Enter the keyword you received at the end of the Documents of Liberty online activity. So that is something you should focus on. Otherwise, for your test, be sure that you go through your reading guides, that you've gone through the readings. Make sure you go through all the activities here in the review lesson, and make special note of the chapter highlights, because those really help get to the main points very nicely for you. So good luck on your Unit 2 test, and until we meet again, this is the end of the 2.12 lesson read aloud recording. Goodbye.